Have you ever wished you could rewind the clock, fix a mistake, or maybe jump ahead to see what the future holds? This desire, this dream of conquering time, isn't new. In fact, it's as old as humanity itself. For thousands of years, we've told stories about escaping the relentless march of moments. Let's journey together into the fascinating mystery of time travel. Since the dawn of history, humans have been captivated by the idea of breaking free from the limits of time. Ancient myths and legends are filled with tales that hint at this desire. Think of prophets in old texts, who could peer into the future, foretelling the rise and fall of kings and empires. Or consider folklore from around the world, like the story of Rip Van Winkle, or similar tales of travelers who wander into a mystical place for what feels like a single night, only to return home and discover that entire centuries have passed. These stories, passed down through generations, reveal a deep collective yearning to understand and control our own timelines. They were our first attempts to grapple with a concept that seemed far beyond our reach, a power reserved for gods and magic. But what was once the stuff of legend would eventually become a subject of intense scientific curiosity. The real shift from myth to science began in the early 20th century, thanks to one of the most brilliant minds in history, Albert Einstein. Before him, time was seen as a constant, an unchangeable river flowing at the same speed for everyone, everywhere. But Einstein, with his groundbreaking theories of relativity, completely shattered that idea. He introduced the world to the concept of space-time, a four-dimensional fabric where space and time are woven together. And here's where it gets really interesting. Einstein showed that this fabric isn't flat or rigid. It can be bent, stretched, and warped by gravity and speed. He proposed that time is relative. It's not the same for everyone. Let's break that down. According to his theory of special relativity, the faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. Imagine you and a friend synchronize your watches perfectly. Your friend stays on Earth, while you blast off in a spaceship traveling close to the speed of light. When you return, you'd find that you've aged only a few years, but your friend on Earth could be decades older. This isn't science fiction. It's a proven phenomenon called time dilation. Scientists have observed it with atomic clocks on high-speed jets and satellites. It's a real, measurable effect. So, in a very real sense, traveling to the future is theoretically possible. You just need a very, very fast ship. Then there's general relativity, which adds gravity to the equation. Einstein revealed that massive objects, like planets and stars, create a dip or a curve in space-time. The stronger the gravity, the more time slows down. This effect is also proven. The GPS satellites orbiting our planet have to constantly adjust their clocks because time runs slightly faster for them in weaker gravity than it does for us down here on the surface. If you could find a celestial body with immense gravity, like a black hole, and orbit it safely, time for you would slow down dramatically compared to the rest of the universe. When you returned, you might find that thousands of years had passed on Earth. So, science has opened the door to the possibility of one-way trips to the future. But what about the other direction? What about traveling to the past? That's where things get much trickier and much more mysterious. While Einstein's equations don't explicitly forbid traveling to the past, doing so opens a Pandora's box of paradoxes. The most famous of these is the grandfather paradox. Imagine you travel back in time and prevent your grandparents from ever meeting. If they never meet, your parent is never born. And if your parent is never born, you are never born. But if you were never born, how could you have gone back in time to stop them in the first place? It's a head-spinning logical loop that has fascinated and frustrated physicists for decades. Some theories propose solutions, like the idea of parallel universes or multiple timelines. In this model, when you change the past, you don't alter your own history, you simply create a new branching timeline. Your original timeline remains untouched, but you are now in a different reality. Beyond the realm of theoretical physics, there are countless anecdotal stories that add another layer of intrigue to the mystery of time. These are the tales of so-called time slips. People from all walks of life have reported bizarre experiences where they felt they had momentarily stepped into a different era. Imagine driving down a familiar road and suddenly seeing the buildings change, the cars transform into old-fashioned models, and people dressed in clothes from a bygone century, or hearing sounds from a battle that took place on that very spot hundreds of years ago. These moments are usually fleeting, lasting just a few seconds or minutes before the person snaps back to their own time, leaving them disoriented and questioning their sanity. One of the most famous alleged time slips is the Moberly-Jourdain incident. In 1901, two English academics, Anne Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, were visiting the Palace of Versailles in France. While walking through the gardens of the Petit Trianon, they claimed they suddenly felt a sense of oppression and unease. The landscape seemed to change, becoming flatter and more rustic. They saw people in 18th century attire, including a woman sketching who they later believed was Marie Antoinette herself. After they returned to their own time, they researched the history of the palace and became convinced they had briefly slipped back to the year 1789. Of course, most of these time slip stories are impossible to prove. They could be explained by vivid daydreams, false memories, or even minor neurological events. But they persist, capturing our imagination and making us wonder if the boundaries between past, present, and future are more porous than we think. It didn't take long for popular culture to grab hold of this electrifying idea and run with it. Time travel has become one of the most enduring and beloved genres in fiction. It all started in 1895 with H.G. Wells's classic novel, The Time Machine. He envisioned a handlebar mustachioed inventor in a velvet chair, pulling a lever to journey thousands of years into the future to witness the evolution and eventual decline of humanity. This single story set the stage for everything that followed. From there, the floodgates opened. We've had countless movies, TV shows, and books exploring every conceivable angle of time travel. Think about Back to the Future, where a teenager in a DeLorean has to make sure his parents fall in love. Or Doctor Who, where a mysterious alien travels through all of space and time in a police box. These stories aren't just thrilling adventures, they allow us to explore profound questions about destiny, free will, and the consequences of our actions. They let us play with the what-ifs of history and our own lives. This brings us to a fascinating and slightly spooky thought. If time travel to the past is ever invented, or ever will be invented at any point in the future, then wouldn't time travelers from the future already be here? This idea, known as the Fermi paradox for time travelers, suggests that if it's possible, we should see evidence of them. Some people believe we do. They speculate that future visitors might be among us right now, living as observers, carefully studying our time period without revealing their true origins. They might be tourists from the future, historians on a field trip, or even agents sent back to prevent some future catastrophe. Proponents of this idea point to old photographs or paintings where a person seems to be holding a modern device, or to historical accounts of people who seemed to know things they couldn't possibly have known. It's an enthralling, if unprovable, idea. Could that stranger you passed on the street today be from the 23rd century? So, whether we look at it through the lens of myth, the mind-bending equations of science, or the imaginative tales of fiction, the concept of time travel touches on one of our deepest human desires. It's the desire for a second chance, the hope to undo a regret or relive a cherished memory. It's the curiosity to witness the great moments of history firsthand, to see the pyramids being built, to hear Lincoln deliver the Gettysburg Address, or to walk among dinosaurs. And it's the urge to glimpse what lies ahead, to know that humanity will be okay, to see the wonders our descendants will create. The mystery of time travel is, in the end, a reflection of our own relationship with time, our struggle against its limits, our nostalgia for the past, and our hope for the future. The clock is always ticking, but in our minds, we will always be travelers. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through time. What do you think? Is time travel possible? If you could travel to any point in time, past or future, where would you go? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the unknown. Thanks for watching.